It is the most famous transformation in the history of anime. Golden hair standing on end, blazing green eyes, a pillar of light tearing into the sky, a scream that a whole generation can hear in their memory. The Super Saiyan. For millions of people, it is the single most iconic image in all of anime. The moment a hero's hair flashes gold and everything changes. And almost everyone remembers it wrong. Because when we think of Super Saiyan, we think of power, of getting stronger, of the ultimate upgrade. We remember the gold, and the might, and the spectacle. But the first Super Saiyan transformation was not born from a desire for power. It was born from grief, from loss, from watching a friend die. Super Saiyan is not at its heart a power-up, it is a breakdown. The Golden Warrior everyone remembers as the peak of strength was, in that first moment, a man falling apart. We have watched that scene so many times and seen the form copied and referenced so often that the meaning has worn smooth. We remember the cool part, the hair, the glow, the power. We forget the terrible thing that had to happen for it to appear at all. And that is only the beginning of what this transformation really means. Because if you trace it across the whole saga, Super Saiyan tells a story almost nobody talks about. A story about rage and loss and the long, hard journey to grow beyond both. So today we are going to look at what Super Saiyan actually is, not the power level, the meaning, why it appears when it does, what it does to the people it transforms, and how the most famous form in anime is really a story about pain. We will trace it from the ancient legend, to the dying planet where it first became real, to what it does to the mind of anyone who holds it, to the pattern of loss that runs through every early transformation, and finally, to the surprising place the whole journey ends. Stay with me, because the way this transformation changes, from a scream of grief to a calm, quiet breath, is one of the most beautiful hidden arcs in the entire series. Let's start with the legend, because before it was ever real, Super Saiyan was a myth. And by the end of this, I think that famous golden flash will feel completely different to you. You will see the pain underneath the power and the long journey away from it. The most recognizable transformation in anime has a soul, and almost nobody talks about it. The Saiyans are a warrior race, a people built around battle, conquest, and strength, and among them for generations there was a legend. The legend of the Super Saiyan, a warrior who would appear only once every 1,000 years, a being of unimaginable power, wreathed in golden light, so rare, so mighty, that most Saiyans believed it was only a myth, a story, something that could not really exist. Even the Saiyans themselves, a race obsessed with power, treated it as half fairy tale. Their most powerful warriors, their kings and princes, had never seen it. 1,000 years is a long time, long enough for even a real legend to fade into something nobody quite believes anymore. And the legend came with a condition. The Super Saiyan was said to be a warrior pure of heart, awakened by fury, not created by training alone, not earned by ambition alone, awakened by an overwhelming surge of emotion. That word matters, fury. From the very beginning, the legend of the Super Saiyan was not about calm mastery or patient discipline. It was about a warrior pushed past their breaking point by feeling. The form was always, at its core, emotional. And that is unusual for a power in a fighting series. Most strength in stories like this is earned through training, discipline, hard work. But the Super Saiyan legend says something stranger. It says the highest power is unlocked not by what you do, but by what you feel. That emotion, not effort, is the key. For 1,000 years, no Saiyan achieved it. It stayed a myth, a bedtime story for a race of warriors. Until, on a dying alien planet far from the Saiyan homeworld, a low-class Saiyan raised on Earth finally made the legend real. And there is a beautiful irony in who made it real. Not the Saiyan elite, not the royal bloodline, not the proud conquerors. It was Goku, a low-class warrior, sent away from his homeworld as a baby, raised on Earth to be gentle and kind. The being the legend chose was the one Saiyan who had learned to love. And the way he did it is the most important scene in understanding what this transformation truly is. Because that scene defines everything the form will ever mean. The way a legend first becomes real sets the rules for it forever after. And the way this one became real was not through triumph, or training, or destiny. It was through heartbreak. Planet Namek, the world is dying, moments from exploding, and Goku is locked in the fight of his life against Frieza, the galactic tyrant who has murdered his way across the universe and who has just done the unthinkable. Frieza kills Krillin, Goku's oldest friend, a man who had been at his side since childhood, who had followed him across the galaxy, who was gentle and kind, and did not deserve any of it. Frieza murders him casually, right in front of Goku's eyes. And it is important to understand who Krillin was to Goku. Not a soldier, not just an ally, his first real friend. The person he trained beside as a boy, laughed with, grew up with. In a life full of battles, Krillin was one of the few constant gentle things in it, and Frieza takes him, like he is nothing, to make a point. And something in Goku breaks. For a moment, he does not even react with anger. He reacts with disbelief, with devastation. Krillin is simply gone, and the wrongness of it, the sheer cruelty, is more than Goku's heart can hold. And it is out of that unbearable place, not out of any battle plan, that the transformation comes. This is the part that matters. Watch what actually triggers the transformation. It is not a training breakthrough. It is not a desire to be the strongest. It is not ambition. It is grief. Pure, overwhelming, unbearable grief, curdling into rage. Goku does not transform because he wants power. He transforms because he has lost something he cannot bear to lose, and the pain of it tears the legend right out of him. The sky goes dark, the ground shakes, lightning splits the air, and then the light erupts, golden, blinding, furious, and Goku rises as the first Super Saiyan in 1,000 years. The transformation itself is violent. This is not a gentle glow settling over him. It is an eruption. His hair blasts upward and turns gold. His eyes sharpen to green. The golden aura explodes outward with such force that it reshapes the battlefield around him. The power does not arrive quietly. It tears its way out. It is one of the greatest moments in anime history, and it is powered entirely by loss. The most iconic power-up ever created is, in its very first appearance, an explosion of a broken heart. That is why the scene lands so hard, even decades later. It is not just spectacle, it is catharsis. All of Goku's grief, all of the audience's grief, erupting together into that pillar of golden light. We are not just watching a power-up, we are watching a heart break open and turn its pain into fire. There is a phrase the series uses for how the transformation works. It comes in response to a need, not a desire, and that distinction is everything. A desire is something you want. A need is something you cannot live without. You can desire power your whole life and never touch it. But when you need something desperately enough, when losing it would break you, that is when the impossible becomes possible. The Super Saiyan legend runs entirely on that difference. You cannot simply want to become a Super Saiyan badly enough. Wanting is not enough. It requires a need so desperate, a loss so profound, that it shatters the limits holding you back. The power does not come to the ambitious, it comes to the broken. This is why, for years, Vegeta could not achieve it, and it drove him to fury. He wanted it more than anyone. He trained obsessively, desperate for the form that would prove he was elite, and that very desperation, that pure desire, was part of what blocked him. The legend does not answer to want, it answers to need. And once it arrives, it changes more than the color of your hair. It changes who you are. Here is something fans often forget. The Super Saiyan transformation does not just make you stronger, it makes you angrier. It changes your personality. Watch Goku the moment he transforms. Before it, he is calm, focused, the gentle, good-natured fighter we know. And the instant his hair turns gold, that changes, he becomes cold, ruthless, vengeful, a warrior hellbent on making Frieza suffer. It is genuinely startling if you watch it closely. The warm, silly, kind-hearted Goku we have followed for so long is suddenly gone, replaced by someone hard and merciless. He speaks differently. He looks at Frieza with a cold contempt we have never seen from him. The rage has, for a moment, rewritten him. This is not an accident, it is built into the form. The legend said it, awakened by fury. The Super Saiyan state amplifies rage. It takes whatever anger is in you and pours fuel on it. A good Saiyan becomes harsh, a cruel one becomes crueler. This is why the transformation is so dangerous and so double-edged. It does not care whether your anger is righteous. It simply amplifies it. The same force that lets a hero avenge a friend could just as easily let a villain indulge his cruelty. The power is neutral. What it magnifies is whatever is already inside you. There is a detail that captures this perfectly. As a Super Saiyan, Goku cannot use the Spirit Bomb, his signature technique that gathers energy from all living things. Why? Because the Spirit Bomb requires a pure, calm heart, and as a Super Saiyan, Goku's heart is full of rage. It is a small, brilliant piece of writing. Goku's kindest, most beautiful technique, a weapon built entirely on trust and gentleness, borrowing a little energy from every living thing, is locked away from him the moment he becomes a Super Saiyan. His greatest raw power and his gentlest power cannot exist at the same time. The rage shuts the kindness out. Think about what that tells you. The transformation is literally incompatible with peace. To hold that golden power in the beginning, you have to hold on to your anger, let go of the rage, and you let go of the form. And you see it in others too. When Vegeta finally becomes a Super Saiyan, the proud, calculating prince becomes reckless and obsessed, throwing away his strategy to chase enemies alone. The form does not just grant power, it grips the mind. It is as if the transformation has a temperament of its own. It wants to fight, it wants to dominate, it floods the calmest mind with heat and aggression. The characters do not simply wield the power, they have to wrestle with what it does to them every time they call on it. So the golden warrior everyone idolizes is not a picture of serene strength. Not at first, it is a picture of a person overwhelmed by loss, by fury, by an emotion too big to contain. The gold is beautiful, but it is lit by pain. We put that golden image on posters and t-shirts as a symbol of ultimate cool, ultimate power. And it is those things, but it is also, if you remember where it came from, a picture of a man at the worst moment of his life. Both things are true at once. That is what gives it such weight. And that pattern, power born from pain, repeats across the entire series. Every early transformation tells the same story. Once you see it, you cannot stop seeing it. Almost every major Super Saiyan transformation in the series is triggered by loss or grief or unbearable emotional pain. Goku's first, as we saw, comes from Krillin's death, the prototype for all of them. Grief transmuted into golden fire. Then there is Gohan, the gentle boy who never wanted to fight, whose mother tried to keep him from all of this. His breakthrough to the next level, Super Saiyan 2, comes in the Cell games, and again, it is powered by pain. And Gohan's case is the purest example of all. He is the most gentle-hearted fighter in the series. A child who genuinely does not enjoy fighting, who would rather be at peace, which means his power is buried the deepest, behind the thickest walls, and it takes the most extreme pain to break those walls down. Gohan watches his friends beaten and tortured. He watches the gentle android 16, a machine who only wanted to protect life, destroyed in front of him, and the grief and rage of that moment shatter his limits. He erupts into Super Saiyan 2, crackling with lightning, transformed by heartbreak. It is the same story as his father's, a generation later. A gentle heart pushed past what it can bear, exploding into golden power, not because he wanted it, because he lost something he loved. 2 generations, the same wound. Goku transforms watching Krillin die. Gohan transforms watching 16 die. Father and son, each broken open by the murder of a gentle friend in front of them. The transformation does not just run in the blood. The grief that triggers it runs in the family too. And future Trunks, a warrior from a ruined timeline where everyone he loved was slaughtered. His power too is rooted in grief. In a world of loss so total that rage became the only fuel he had left. Trunks came from a future where the heroes had all fallen, where he grew up amid rubble and death, watching his world be torn apart. For him, there was no gentle path to power, only loss, and the desperate need to become strong enough to stop it from happening again. His gold, too, is the color of grief. Over and over, the pattern holds. The Saiyans do not ascend through joy, they ascend through suffering. Each new golden height is bought with a new wound. The transformation is, again and again, a monument to something lost. There is something almost mythic in that consistency. As if the universe itself has decided that this power must be earned in blood and grief, that you cannot simply be given it. You have to lose your way into it. Every golden warrior is standing on top of a loss. Which raises a question the series takes a very long time to answer. If this power only comes from pain, is that the only way it can ever come? Because there is a real cost to a power that runs on suffering, and the series quietly understands it. Think about what it means for your greatest strength to be tied to your worst moments. To only be able to reach your full power when you are in agony. It means that to grow stronger, these characters have to keep breaking, keep losing, keep hurting. It is a cruel bargain when you lay it out plainly. The universe is essentially telling these heroes, you may have this incredible power, but only in exchange for your suffering. The more you lose, the stronger you become. Your worst day and your best power are the same event. It is a kind of trap. The rage that fuels the transformation also clouds it. A warrior lost in fury makes mistakes. Gohan, at the height of his Super Saiyan 2 power, becomes arrogant and cruel, toying with Cell instead of ending him, and that arrogance costs lives. The rage that makes him strong also makes him reckless. It is one of the most important lessons in the whole series, and it is easy to miss under the spectacle. Gohan had the power to end the fight instantly, but the rage that gave him that power also made him want to savor Cell's suffering. And in that delay, Cell nearly destroys everything. The anger that saved him almost damned them all. The same was true for Goku, for Vegeta. The anger is power, but it is also a leash. It ties their strength to their pain, and their judgment to their fury. As long as the transformation runs on rage, they can never be fully in control of it or of themselves. And it means these warriors can never truly rest. If your power depends on your pain, then a peaceful, happy life is, in a strange way, a weakness. The calmer and more content you become, the harder that old rage is to summon. Their strength and their happiness are almost at war with each other. So there is something almost tragic buried in the most celebrated power in anime. The Golden Warrior is strongest when he is suffering most. His greatest triumphs are lit by his deepest wounds. The light is dazzling. But of what? For a long time, that is simply the price. To be a Super Saiyan is to channel pain into power, and to accept that the two cannot be separated. Rage is the engine, loss is the fuel. But the story does not end there. Because eventually the Saiyans learn something that changes everything. They learn that there is another way to transform, and it is the exact opposite of rage. It takes them a long time to get there, For the entire span of Dragon Ball Z, rage and loss are simply the price of power, accepted without question. The idea that strength could come from somewhere gentler does not even seem possible. It is only much later that the door to another way finally opens. Here is the thesis. The entire arc of the Super Saiyan transformation across the whole saga is the story of learning to grow beyond rage, of moving from power born of pain to power born of peace. For years, the only way up was through suffering, anger, grief, loss, but then the series introduces a new kind of transformation entirely, Super Saiyan God, and everything about it is different. And the difference is not subtle. Every Super Saiyan form before it was a variation on the same theme, more gold, more lightning, more raw fury. Super Saiyan God breaks the pattern completely. It is a different color, a different feeling, a different source. It is the series announcing that there is another door, and it does not open with rage. Super Saiyan God is not achieved through rage. It is achieved through a calm, sacred ritual, through the quiet cooperation of pure hearts lending their strength. And the form itself is serene, slender, gentle, crowned not with harsh gold but with a soft crimson glow. Look at Goku's face as a Super Saiyan God. The fury is gone, the vengefulness is gone. In its place is a deep, tranquil calm. For the first time, this is power without anger, strength that flows from peace instead of pain. This is a genuinely profound shift, and it is easy to overlook amid all the new colors and power levels. For the first time in the entire saga, a Saiyan becomes stronger not by hurting more, but by being at peace. The engine has changed. Pain is no longer the fuel, calm is. And it goes further. Super Saiyan Blue, the fusion of that divine calm with the Super Saiyan form, is defined by control, by a still, clear mind. The blue-haired warrior is not raging. He is focused, serene, completely in command of the power that once commanded him. Notice the reversal buried in that. The original Super Saiyan controlled its user, flooding him with rage, gripping his mind, rewriting his personality. Super Saiyan Blue is the opposite. Here, the user controls the power. The warrior who once could not even calm his heart enough to form a spirit bomb now holds god-level energy with a completely serene mind. The Saiyans have inverted their own legend. The transformation that once required fury now requires calm. The power that once fed on loss now flows from mastery. They have learned to reach their greatest heights not by breaking, but by finding peace. And with that inversion, the war between their strength and their happiness finally ends. They no longer need to be suffering to be powerful. They can be calm, content, at peace, and still reach the heights. The cruel bargain is broken. Peace is no longer a weakness, it has become the source. And at the very top of that journey sits the most telling form of all. Ultra Instinct, the highest state Goku ever reaches, and it is the ultimate proof of what this whole journey has been about. Because Ultra Instinct is not powered by rage at all. It is the opposite. It requires the complete emptying of the mind, a total perfect calm, to move without thought, without anger, without emotion clouding the body at all. The idea behind it is almost meditative. In Ultra Instinct, the body reacts and moves entirely on its own, without waiting for the mind to think or feel. But to reach that state, the mind must first fall completely silent. No anger, no fear, no grief, just a perfect empty stillness. It is the exact spiritual opposite of a scream of rage. The warrior whose greatest power once came from screaming grief on a dying planet now reaches his peak through absolute serenity. Silver light, a quiet mind, a still heart, the exact opposite of where he began. Put the two images side by side on Namek, a young man screaming in agony, golden light exploding out of his grief. And at the peak of his journey, that same man utterly calm, silver light flowing around a silent, peaceful mind. Same warrior. Opposite states, that distance is the entire point. Sit with how complete that reversal is. The first transformation demanded rage. The final one demands the total absence of it. Goku's journey, written in the transformations themselves, goes from a boy consumed by his emotions to a master who has learned to quiet them entirely. That is not just a power progression, it is a spiritual one. It is the story of someone learning, across a lifetime, to stop being ruled by pain, and to find instead a place of calm from which real strength can finally flow. And it is fitting that it is Goku who completes this journey. The Saiyan the legend chose was always the one who had learned to love, to be gentle, to value peace. Of course, he would be the one to discover that the greatest power was not in rage but in serenity. He was, in a sense, always heading there. The golden rage was never the destination. It was the beginning, the starting point of a much longer road toward peace. And there is a quiet beauty in the fact that the ultimate power looks so calm. No screaming, no explosion of fury. Just a warrior standing still, at peace, unstoppable. The series spent decades making its heroes louder and angrier, only to reveal at the summit that true mastery is silent. So what do we take from the most iconic transformation in anime? First, that Super Saiyan is far more than a power-up. It is an emotional event. It appears in moments of profound feeling, and it says something true about the character it transforms. It is not just what they can do, it is what they are going through. Second, that its origin and loss gives it a weight most power fantasies never have. That famous golden form did not begin as a triumph. It began as grief for a murdered friend. Every time we see it, buried underneath the spectacle, is the memory of that first, terrible reason it existed. Third, that the journey from Super Saiyan to Ultra Instinct is one of the most quietly meaningful arcs in the series. It is the story of a race of warriors, and one man in particular, learning to stop drawing strength from their pain and start drawing it from their peace, rage to calm, breaking to mastery, suffering to serenity. And it mirrors something true about growing up. When we are young, our biggest emotions run us. Our anger, our grief, our fear can take us over completely, the way that first transformation takes over Goku. Learning to feel those things without being ruled by them, to find a steady calm underneath them, is the work of a lifetime. The Saiyans just do it in gold and silver light. And fourth, the thing underneath all of it. The most powerful idea in the whole transformation is not the gold, or the lightning, or the raw might. It is the quiet suggestion that the highest strength does not come from how hard you can rage. It comes from how deeply you can find peace. For a franchise so often dismissed as just muscular men screaming and punching, that is a startlingly gentle and wise idea to build into its very core. The loudest, flashiest power in anime quietly teaches that the real goal is to become calm. That is the kind of hidden depth that keeps a series alive in people's hearts for 40 years. That is a remarkable message to hide inside the flashiest power-up in anime history, that the goal is not to burn hotter, it is to grow calmer, to take the pain that once controlled you and finally rise above it. Which brings us all the way back to that dying planet, and the scream that started it all. That scream was the beginning of a 40-year journey. A journey that started in the loudest possible grief and ended in the deepest possible calm. And every golden flash in between is a step along that road, from a heart breaking to a heart at peace. So the next time you see that golden hair flash, and the aura ignite, and the ground crack under a warrior's feet, remember what you are really looking at. Remember that the most iconic transformation in anime was not born from a hunger for power. It was born from a broken heart on a dying world. In the moment a man watched his best friend die. Remember that the gold is beautiful, but that in the beginning it was lit by rage and grief, a power so tied to pain that it could not coexist with peace. Remember that every early ascent was paid for with a wound, that the Saiyans climbed toward greatness on a staircase of loss, transformation after transformation, each one a monument to something they could not save. Remember that the transformation changed the very people who used it, flooding the gentlest hearts with fury, tying their greatest strength to their deepest pain, so that for years they could not be both happy and powerful at once. And remember where the journey leads, away from the rage, toward the calm, from a scream of grief to a quiet, still, empty mind, from power that breaks you to power that comes only once you have finally found peace. It is a journey from the outside in. The early power was loud, external, explosive, all aura and lightning and screaming. The final power is quiet, internal, still. A calm so deep it becomes unstoppable. The Saiyans learned that the real strength was never in the noise, it was in the silence underneath it. That is what Super Saiyan really means. It is not a story about getting stronger. It is a story about a warrior race and one gentle-hearted man learning across a lifetime that the greatest power was never in the rage, it was in rising above it. The most famous golden light in anime began as a cry of pain, and it ended as a moment of peace, and the distance between those two is the whole story. That is why it endures. Not because the hair is cool, though it is. Not because the power is overwhelming, though it is. But because, underneath all of it, Super Saiyan is about something we all understand. The long, hard human journey from being ruled by our pain to finally rising above it. I love pulling these threads, because the things we remember as the loudest are so often, underneath, the most tender. And nothing in this series is more tender, beneath all that golden thunder, than the reason it first appeared at all. A transformation born from loss that became in the end a lesson about peace that is Super Saiyan, and that is Dragonball at its very best. If you love finding the meaning hidden beneath the spectacle you thought you already understood, stick around. There is so much more waiting in this world, and the next one shines a light on another piece of it you never looked at twice.